And I think in order to make a breakout format, you really need to be extremely original and sort of break the barriers of a lot of things that have been done before.
Assaf Gil, thank you for joining me on my show. How are you?
Not too bad. Thanks very much.
I'm not used to seeing your face. I'm used to seeing the title of your company at the end of pretty much every show that I enjoy watching on TV. So it's definitely an interesting experience now watching you in person. But Gil, Asaf, sorry, Gil, obviously the last name. But what's really, I think, fascinating to me is that you really are a key figure in the entertainment industry in Israel, and I think that's what I'm especially curious to hear about in these next 20 minutes is some of the thought process that goes behind creating entertainment, bringing that to reality, and really productizing it for the market here in Israel. So, Asaf, please take it away and tell me a little bit about your journey and how do you even get started with even wanting to be on television? If I'm correct, Arutz Eladim was one of the first appearances.
Yes, well, I actually I wasn't born a producer. I started out as an actor. I trained in London for 4 years, and then when coming back to Israel, I acted in theater and a bit of television here. After which I sort of decided that it wasn't it for me, which I'm really happy about that decision because unlike other would-be actors or people who wanted it and never achieved it, I was really through with my wish to be an actor. So once that happened to me, I was really dedicated to producing. Um, and I think one of the key issues in my career, at least, was the fact that the success, or as you mentioned, the fact that I'm almost everywhere on television in Israel as a producer, didn't come to me very quickly. I think that for about 15 years, I was producing sort of smaller shows, getting, learning quite a lot through the process of working. And only at the tender age of 43, I think, I really hit the prime time in commercial television in Israel, which really was a big breakthrough for me. And from the word go,
Right.
since I was on prime time, I was very fortunate to have a huge success in almost every show I produced.
Asaf, I have to pick your brain about this whole industry because, coming from the tech scene, I think the equivalent to you saying reaching prime time is sort of reaching like an exit for startups, right? Or going public. That's sort of like I guess the analogy. But talk to me a little bit about how this industry is built and what are some of the biggest challenges that it takes for a producer to reach at the tender age of 43, to reach that prime time experience.
Well, television in Israel is a small marketplace, and it's extremely competitive because there's um, a large number of production companies with a limited amount of networks. So that makes it very tough. Actually, throughout the years, I don't think it became any easier. It only it feels like sort of a big war going through the years. And first and foremost, I must say that the battle is for great shows, great ideas, formats, if they are sort of purchased for Israel, IP that is purchased to be produced locally. from successful shows elsewhere. And also here and there, when we do have the chance to create our own original shows and IP.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. And talk to me a little bit about what is the format. So I'm guessing that it's some structure to a show that might repeat itself, might be able to then scale also to other places. But talk to me a little bit because you have both the Gill production side and Gill formats, right? Which are they're like siblings entities. But talk to me about each one separately and how they work together here in the Israeli marketplace.
Sure. So basically, the formats I'm talking about, or the formats that we are dealing with, non-scripted formats. So we're not talking about scripted shows. We're talking about non-scripted television. And the format is basically a very comprehensive concept, which is very well defined and impossible to imitate, if you like, without going into lawsuits. And it's always starting out as an idea and then being developed further and further, sometimes through pilot episodes, sometimes it's being commissioned. And Gill Productions is really a pure production entity that, currently in the Israeli marketplace, we're producing 6 really huge shows for all networks here. And Gill Formats was established as a company in 2015 because we came to realize that we have a lot of our own original stuff that we would like to distribute and sell outside of Israel. And we made some very nice successes through this IP, this original IP. Some of it was produced initially in Israel and then exported. And some was actually produced first outside of Israel. So that was
Wow.
even more exciting.
So, I mean, let's say that I'm a young media entrepreneur, and I have an idea for a show that is called "Come Eat with Me." By the way, I love that show, and I
Have
want
dine
to
with
put
me.
it on. I, I have come down with me. I want to come and I want to actually start this up as a real proper show. What are some of the big milestones that I'll have to go through as a media entrepreneur or is coming in with this format, whether I pitch it to Gill Formats or somebody else? What are some of the steps that I'll have to go through?
I think that, unlike perhaps tech uh, ideas that might be sometimes easier to launch, I find because I'm getting pitched on an average of 2 format ideas per day. So it's hundreds per year, and I must say that most of them are not that good because
You're like a venture capital investor.
in a way I am, yes.
Yeah.
I think that some of the ideas are very, they are very much similar to other things that are on air with slight differences that don't really make that much of a difference. And I think in order to make a breakout format, you really need to be extremely original and sort of break the barriers of a lot of things that have been done before. Um, on the other hand, I think that some of the ideas I'm being pitched with are okay, great actually on paper, but once you go into the nitty gritty of producing them, of making them a television show, most people don't really understand the barriers of television or how a television show is produced. And that's why some of the ideas are purely hypothetical because they cannot get to a practical, they cannot really be achieved. So it's a really tough process. But if you do have an original, successful format, you can, it can potentially bring you lots of money and lots of could be a big springboard if you do manage to create something original that could be successful.
Right. Talk to me a little bit about reality television. That's also a big part of what you do.
Mhm.
Why do I love reality TV so much? Why do I find myself able to sit through watching an entire season of a reality show without stopping while I'm not, I think that's maybe the only thing I can do without stopping for hours. Why is that?
I think that what always works on television is a story, and it's always a personal story, and there's always there's a need for some sort of stake of what the people are going through. There's a challenge. There's something out of the ordinary. Some of the reality shows that we all know, when wanting to achieve this challenge, for instance, in Survivor, they could send people to a remote island, starve them, and put them through impossible challenges just to get the personal story, the personal truth. Some other shows, which I've been also fortunate to produce, are there. The challenge is there naturally. For instance, one of the a successful show I produced a few years ago in Israel was called Baby Boom. In the original UK version, it's called One Born Every Minute. And what we did there was just document births in a hospital ward, and it was extremely emotional and dramatic simply just by putting a camera there, because the challenge was there. We didn't need to create it. So some reality shows have to manipulate and create the challenge and the drama, whereas some other shows, the drama is sort of inherent in the process. I prefer the other type of shows because I think that nowadays, viewers are very critical. They can see the manipulations, and I think that as long as the person involved, the person on television, is going through something real, it's better. And I think most of my shows were focused on that.
I think that's fascinating, and I have to say that I agree. I enjoy watching both the very early seasons of these shows, but I also enjoy watching the later seasons of these shows and the new reality shows like Baby Boom, which I also love. And you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference in authenticity, and you can tell when that person is going through an emotional experience that is very relevant, that you can actually connect with. But Asaf, tell me a little bit about the trajectory of where we're headed with television and reality TV also. So, what have been some of the major changes aside from the authenticity in the past, decade or so, and where are we headed towards in the future?
Well, everyone is talking about the problem of linear television, and is it going to still be relevant? I think it is, because I think the challenge of current day television is television really needs to reinvent itself as a must-see platform. You can watch Netflix, you can binge shows, and obviously have lots of fun with it. But I think the challenge of linear television is to be able to offer viewers something that they really need to see. They won't be able to see on the SVOD platforms. And I think I do see a long future of television ahead of us. My recent show in Israel, which is a huge success everywhere, The Masked Singer, is something like that, because it is something that has a great deal of engagement with viewers. People need to be involved. They want to be involved. It's the talk the next day everywhere. And it's the type of show which, brings back the value of television. And I think that's part of the things I like to do, because I do like to produce things which are a bit of an adventure, a bit of something refreshing, something different. And I think that was one of the reasons why I took an option on this format very early, before it launched in the US, and with some
Wow,
other formats as
amazing.
well. When I felt that there is something
Wow,
that is different, there is an adventure in having this on television, and I think
I
that's one
love
of
it.
the key issues. Not doing more of the same, doing things which are completely different.
Asaf, I think that's just incredible. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Why are you so excited about starting new shows and continuing to innovate? You mentioned that you started off really getting into the bits and pieces and the exciting parts of it at 43. But why today? Why do you still enjoy getting pitched at least two ideas per day and then continuing to do new formats?
I love what I do. It's really not something that when I wake up in the morning, I don't have any qualms about what I'm doing. I don't have other dreams. It's not like I wish I would have, I would do something else. It never happened to me. I really am totally enchanted with what I'm doing. And I love to create, and I think part of the magic of creating for television is being able to uh, to use a lot of your senses, and both intellect and emotions. But I would say first and foremost intuition. I think television, for me at least, television works a lot on intuition, and uh, and that's why I love this field, because you are going through a lot of unknowns. You're going through a lot of black holes. You're not sure what's going to happen when how you're going to come out of the other side. And that's part of the magic of television. And that's why it's so exciting. And it always has been for
What's
me.
been the greatest? What's been the greatest challenge that you had to overcome in doing the amazing work that you're doing right now?
Well, the biggest challenges are me pitching to other people, of course. So you're talking about as if I'm a VC being pitched to, but I'm also pitching to networks in Israel. I'm pitching to networks abroad, to production companies abroad. Uh, that's always a big challenge, because normally you're in a position you, when you're pitching to people who are very anxious about making bold moves and taking risks. And if you are being adventurous, which is what I like to do, it's always a challenge pitching to people who are almost prone to taking risks, risk averse people. And that's,
I
I
love
would
that.
say, my
I
biggest
love that.
challenge.
I love that. And if you look over, the incredible career that you've had, and I have to, first of all, I have to say thank you, because I think that, besides from being an innovator and creating all these things, you impacted so many lives, and I can still recall to this, and I'll never forget, those Saturday nights when I would sit with my family, everybody together, huddle in front of the screen because we're excited about somebody's journey, whether it's through Baby Boom or another reality TV. I think it brings people together. I think it creates excitement. It creates an internal excitement for every person watching it. And I think that allowing us to experience these emotions is a gift. And so I want to thank you for giving us that gift. And also thank you for being so generous with your time and coming here. Asaf, before
Thank
we leave, I
you.
have to ask you the most important question, which is three words that you would use to describe yourself.
Well, I'll pick up on a lot of things I said here. I would probably say It's a bit embarrassing, but I'll probably say that I'm intuitive. I'm experienced because it took me some time before I made a move and went successful, and I'm adventurous. These are the three
I
things I
love
can
it.
say about
I
it.
love it. Asaf, thank you so much. This was
Thanks.
really, really wonderful. And thank you very much. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you.